Hi, this is David Leitch, and this is the director commentary for the home entertainment version of Hobbs and Shaw. There's a Universal logo. Really excited to get a chance to do this movie. My producing partner and my wife, Kelly McCormick, had found out that they were doing this spinoff, and somehow with Chris Morgan and through agents and lawyers, we got the script. Kelly and I read it, and we saw this opportunity for something really fun in this world. The studio was really supportive of making something that was unique with my perspective, but also with the Fast and Furious brand. You can hear this title track, Time in a Bottle, going on. I love to start my movies with music. If you've seen Atomic Blonde or Deadpool, music is such a great way in to access emotional points for the audience. So they have great music execs here at Universal, Mike Knobloch and Rachel Levy. Rachel put together long playlists for me at my request of things that I felt were thematic for the film. Time in a Bottle was one of them. This Time in a Bottle is actually a re-record from a group called Youngblood, and they came in and did a special version for us, contemporized it, and made it cool. You can see here Vanessa Kirby being a badass, and the entrance of our villain, soon to follow, Idris Elba. But Vanessa went through the traditional training that we do with 8711 crew, and she became pretty proficient in this martial arts stuff, and you'll see throughout the movie. Time in the Bottle was sort of thematic for, I guess, the characters in this movie. As you see, that's the bottle that I was referencing. Everyone in this movie is kind of estranged from people they care about, whether it's Shaw with his sister or Hobbs with his brother, or even Idris and Jason's character in their past brotherhood, and they were brothers in arms. I guess the idea is that it shouldn't take global stakes to reconnect with the people that you care about. And that was sort of the bigger theme on top of all this crazy action you're about to witness right now. Blam! So Idris has a great martial arts background. He's actually kickboxed. I don't know if you've ever seen the documentary that he did, but it's pretty amazing, him preparing for a fight. So he was the perfect adversary for two of the biggest action stars on the planet. This scene was so incredibly fun to shoot with the stunt guys, and it's sort of right up our alley and what we do. My sensibility as a director, I work closely with the stunt team, but I also work closely with Jonathan Sella, who you can see created an incredible lighting palette here. We wanted to go a little bit more heightened reality, a little bit more comic book graphic novel-y feel. Composition is really big to us, and we try to most times shoot with one camera so we can really focus on the shot and make the one shot tell the story and sort of flow from shot to shot and in sort of the first pass of how we see the movie going together visually. So that's where you get sort of the graphic sensibility of the stuff that I like to do. There is an extended version of this. On the Blu-ray, you can probably see there was a grenade left here, and it explodes. Blam! And Idris's character gets launched, and then we see that the suit is actually explosion-proof and bulletproof and has this new technology from the company Etion that he works with.
Bulldog 2, the team is down. We've been betrayed.
This is a really interesting thing, a funny caveat. Everybody throws stuff over their shoulder in this movie. I don't know why, but you'll notice that Dwayne throws the shot glasses over his shoulder. You'll see later Eiza González throws the champagne glass over her shoulder.
I want her on the run with no place to turn.
You might recognize Daniel Bernhardt from Atomic Blonde and from John Wick. Funny story about Daniel. My first stunt job was on his movie called Perfect Target back in 1994. And he was the star of the movie. He was going to be the next Van Damme. He did a series of sort of B movies, and he's a great fight guy and a great actor, and I like to use him in fight roles. So this split screen idea was a big pitch that I had at the script phase. It's how do we access these characters immediately and sort of see the odd couple nature of them. Just look at like they're different, but they're the same. And so we came up with this idea of shooting a split screen, and Jonathan Sella and I wanted to match lens sizes and focal lengths, and we built the sets with David Schoeneman, the production designer, so everything was allowed to have the same graphic sensibility and the same distance from camera, so it could be a perfect match. Even in those dolly push-ins, you see it's a perfect match, perfect size. It was a lot of logistical work to make this happen for something so simple. But again, it was sort of emblematic of what I was trying to do with these characters. It's like, yes, they are diametrically opposed, but they are very similar when you get down to the core of them. And I thought this was just a fun visual way to present that to the audience and sort of subliminally take that sort of messaging away. You can see they both get into some cool, sexy environments lit by Jonathan Sella and designed by David Schoeneman. I like this, again, like movie magic, right? It's just like 3 walls and some foreground, and it feels like a nightclub. There's Dwayne throwing the shot glasses over his shoulder.
Who the hell are you?
It's fun. This is one of my favorite sort of fight scenes in the movie. There was time where we were playing with something that was a little more heightened. We were going to play with source music during the fights. And we had a K-pop band that was actually playing music in the tattoo parlor. And then we had a sort of like a Russian opera thing. And we kept cutting back from K-pop to Russian opera. It was really funny, but it also became a little distracting, and it sort of took you out of the fights because it was so funny. So in the end, I opted for some great score from Tyler Bates. Ooh, I love that. Bang, tunk. So, yeah, Tyler Bates, you can hear him riffing. You can hear classic Tyler Bates guitars. Speaking of the score, I wanted to have a throwback sort of Lethal Weapon-y, bluesy guitar vibe connecting these two in sort of the spirit of those 80s and 90s buddy cop movies. And so as much as there's contemporary score and great orchestration, there is a bluesy rock and roll guitar. I love the kick to the balls, I have to say. Like, makes me laugh every time. You're gonna die! Ooh! That funny, that window break is, give you another shout out to a great person on this movie is Dan Glass, who's my visual effects supervisor.
Thank you.
And he's sort of prolific in the world of visual effects. And we met together on the Matrix movies. And it was really fun that we get to work together.
Okay, you get the idea. I've been tracking some dark web chatter about a super virus that's coming up on the auction block. Why don't you tell me about it?
I don't know.
I don't like that answer. Yeah.
You know, this scene here, there's some interesting lines, and actually we had an extended version of the opening of the movie where we started on the close-ups from the CIA office that come later in the movie. And then during this scene, we intercut the discovery of the virus, Vanessa and Idris's scene in the underground, and it becomes more of a sort of a non-linear version of the movie. I think the studio really felt that the linear version, sort of the cold open, was more universal, I should say, and more international and like clearer storytelling for international audience. So I was actually really good with both versions, and I like them both. So it was really good that, you know, we landed on this and it really worked for the audience. Here we are entering the Pancake House scene, and there are some fun additional moments in the extended version of this. Dwayne has a joke that is referential to Meg. You know, he has a movie idea, and the movie idea he's describing is basically the plot of Meg. It's really funny, but we weren't ready for sort of the comedy at this point in the movie. There was a moment where I thought, like, the tone could shift because we've kind of set up the stakes.
I was going to use this. I found it in the garage drawer. That's you.
Here we're kind of setting up the sort of first emotional journey for Hobbs, setting up the need to reconnect with his brother and the need to, reveal the truth about his family to his daughter, and that maybe being confronted with like some choices he's made and some mistakes, and it's a really sweet scene.
You just gotta do your best and move on.
Elena, the actress, sort of jumped out at the auditions, and she became a clear choice pretty quickly. She's a sweetheart, and for being pretty new in the business, she's got incredible acting chops.
Thank you so much.
Here you go, Cheat Day. A little self-referential, a little over the top, but gets a big laugh.
Is that really necessary? Come on.
Now, this is such a beautiful scene, and like, again, one of my favorite dramatic scenes in the movie. When you have the luxury and the privilege of Helen Mirren showing up on your set, it's a pretty special day.
Not paying them enough to keep their mouth shut.
Her and Jason have had an incredible natural chemistry, and
You cheeky bugger.
it's funny, it was a little bumpy for the first hour of the shoot. We were trying to get the words right, and Chris Morgan came to set, and we were sort of, rewriting a few things and just trying to make it feel more natural in Jason's voice and Shaw's voice. But once we landed it, it worked so well, and it's so real and sentimental. It's a lovely scene.
Now listen. Have you spoken with your sister?
You know I have, Mum.
Coming up, you're going to see these flashback sequences that the idea that we could connect Hattie and Deckard with this nostalgia that was sort of layered in music. So I wanted to use the music to obviously pull at the heartstrings and give you sort of a nostalgic feel. And also these great actors, local London kids that portrayed Hattie and Shaw. We created these flashback moments where they came up with their grifts and their heists and named them after rock stars. Later on in the movie, it's sort of a plot point, and they have this innate ability to work together because they've been working together since they were kids, and all they really needed to do was reconnect.
Well, one day, I just hope that I
You can see we're setting up sort of the emotional journey of Shaw here, and him reconnecting with his sister.
Well, you know what I say. Never say never.
I also wanted to sort of lay this Easter egg, and not Easter egg, it's more the Shaw family. They're all chips off the old block, and you see during the phone call, she picks her handcuffs. And we'll see Hattie later picks her handcuffs, and they all sort of have this criminal ability.
Lucas?
So this next scene is crazy, and I think it gets big response from the audience. I called Ryan to see if he would like to play Locke, this character Locke, and he came out for a day as a favor. I said, look, there's a lot of exposition that you have to give that's sort of setting up the virus and sort of the journey for our heroes. Would you come do it? Because sometimes exposition is really boring. He and Chris Morgan took a stab at the pages. Ryan wrote a bunch of the material for his character, and he sort of created this Locke out of thin air. And he came up with the idea for the best friends locket and the tattoo, and like reading the pages, I was laughing hysterically. So I was so grateful that he was working on a Michael Bay movie in Europe at the time. He flew to London on the weekend to shoot with us, and then, flew himself back. It was just as a favor. And it turns out to be one of the funniest scenes in the movie.
Turns your body into a giant bag of hot soup.
She is 9.
Seen worse.
Where?
Game of Thrones, Janet's house.
I've never
A
heard of
Lannister always pays his debts.
it. You're never going over there again.
But there's a new wrinkle in the case, Rebecca. The specifics.
There is an extended version of this. That's it, when he hands her the folder, I still laugh.
T-17 in existence
Yeah, there's an extended version of this that has a lot more jokes,
in London.
Dad, are all spies that pretty?
It was really a pleasure to work with Ryan on Deadpool 2 and learning from him. He's a comedic genius, and he's been doing comedy a long, long time. And, as steeped as I am in action, it was really good to collaborate with someone who is so versed in comedy.
The point is there's no sharp.
By the way, I'm a huge fan of comedy, and I'm a connoisseur of comedy, and I feel like I know a lot about comedy and timing innately, but I was only magnified by my experience working with him. And so it was really fun to do these scenes with him and make something special and hopefully make a new character for the, Hobbs and Shaw world. If we really break this movie down, there's a lot of opportunity for the world to go different places, and Hobbs, his own movie, Shaw, his own movie, who knows, right? Locke and showing up in everybody's movie, like you're gonna see cameos, other cameos come up soon. If you haven't seen the movie, it's a pretty rich world of actors. I mean, Idris alone, like you could have a Brixton movie, you can have Vanessa have her own movie. Here I am pitching a lot of movies to the studio. Let's see if they make them.
And not just yours and mine.
He knows I can see him, right?
He knows nothing, Jon Snow.
So what's it gonna be, Becky? You gonna partner up?
I love this idea that his middle name is Rebecca. It's just so ridiculous. That was a Ryan idea.
We are not
Best friends.
at all.
And to wash your back. It's a lot of back.
A lot of back. I got you. Hey, same old Hobbs, huh?
Same old Locke. All right, who's on the case?
So it was kind of like, okay, now we have to figure out a way to top that. And how do you top that? Well, I pulled from the Deadpool 2 alumni.
You don't know what I'm selling, or who I
And here we have Rob Delaney, who came out for a day to work with Jason, and he obviously plays the other side of the London liaison for the CIA.
and I need to talk to you about our shared
How'd you
interests.
find me?
Again, he has to give a lot of exposition, but he's got to, help enhance the jokes that we're trying to play off here.
Baseballs have it coming.
Really funny, gracious.
Hit them with bat.
They are too thick.
I always thought, we could do a Lock and Loeb. His name is Agent Loeb. It'd be Lock and Loeb. It would be, as Kelly McCormick says, it's 3 titles. It's the Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw's Lock and Loebed. Could be the best movie of next summer. Who knows?
Inside 72 hours. If MI6 finds her,
So
they're gonna
here we are, Jason's character being presented with the problem, his sister. The audience technically doesn't know yet that this is his sister, but she's the one who has the virus. And the capsules are in her blood, and everybody wants this weapon.
You've got everything you could need at your disposal, and we're bringing.
And 72 hours, she is going to go viral.
But she does.
So coming up is another little split screen riff.
Hey, is your guy gonna freak out when he finds out who my guy
Both these scenes were enhanced by Ryan and by Rob. And Rob actually had this great riff about, my guy beat me up in a bar in Krakow 11 years ago and doesn't even remember me. So
Well, my guy beat the shit out of me at a bar in Krakow 17 years ago, and he.
17 years ago. Sorry.
We all have our histories. Anyway, it's the fate of the world here.
It's the fate of the world.
Fate of the world.
Is in their hands.
Serious stuff.
I mean, you think.
So we're kind of fun, like setting up this tone in the first act where we can laugh and go on this ride.
Working with this guy, I've been there, done that.
The minute he gets involved.
Here we are. This is what people have been waiting for, the main event. These two guys giving each other a hard time. It's this dynamic between these two is why I decided to do the movie and why when I was offered the chance to do it, I said yes, because they do have an undeniable chemistry and it's really fun to see them tear into each other. So it's all good.
Horse shit, I got a job to do. Tell your mom I said hi. Actually, I'll tell her myself.
Don't you ever talk about my mother? I'll put you...
This was a scene, funny, first day. We were shooting with Jason for a week and a half before Dwayne's schedule allowed him to be there. So this is the first day they were going to get to work together. So it's a little bit stressful and like, how is this all going to work? And, how are these guys' chemistry in real life? And so we had a script page meeting before call and we did a read through and we bounced around lines and we changed things. And it was just a real supportive sort of collaborative environment.
It's your face. Your big, stupid face. Looking at it makes me feel like God is projectile vomiting right in my eyes. And it burns. It really burns.
Those two close-ups are sort of a motif that I was trying to set for the rest of the movie. When we go into those comedic bits and like really sort of see into the character's eyes. There's that line that Shaw says where it's like projectile vomits right in my eyes and it really burns, and then he closes it and he's like, and it really burns. Kelly McCormick, my creative producer, was like, we got to put that the second it really burns back in. And I withheld for a while, and then the minute we put it back in and we tested it with an audience, it's like it is sort of that physical pain that he feels is so funny, and it gets a massive laugh. That is it's a really sort of tight scene. You can see the beautiful set we built.
We can get to work.
The beautiful lighting by Jonathan.
We already have 24 agents scouring.
Don't you talk back to me, Opie. I just care about the coverage. I ain't gonna ask you again, then pull it up.
So there's this graphic on the screen that sort of explains how he's gonna find her, and this has been sort of a funny, sort of fun point of contention. Like, how do we illustrate that what he's doing is like looking at the cameras and then inverting the camera. So we look at the camera coverage and you invert the camera coverage and you see, obviously, the areas where she could walk that have no CCTV camera coverage. Here's a little bit of an homage to Atomic Blonde. You see the hoodie and the trench coat with different colors. Intentional or unintentional, I don't know. Working with Vanessa, we were talking about who her character was, and it, like, you know, did she kind of have a sort of she had a rougher side, you know, granted she's MI6 and she's been around the world and she's a seasoned spy, but she also, you know, when push comes to shove, her East Side roots come out, and she's a little tough and rough around the edges. So we wanted to give her a little bit of a rough look, and you can see kind of the roots, like the dyed roots. This is part of the character we were building with her. Here we're into sort of another music moment, right? I wanted to just sort of set that into the world and sort of intercut Hattie and Deckard, so you can kind of see, again, like how similar they are as brother and sister. It's not unlike the visual storytelling I was trying to do with the split screen. This is just a different style of that visual storytelling where we're, you know, using the intercutting to, like, show how brother and sister are alike, like she's a chip off the old block. And it's going to dovetail into this fight scene where we see that they're both tough as nails, and they fight similarly, you know. Again, she's a chip off the old block. It was really good juxtaposition with these two scenes. Originally, we were going to show them separately, but as we started to put the movie together, I intercut things a lot more by choice. Part of it was to compress the movie, and, you know, the original sort of edit was about 2:45.
You seem like a smart woman.
I am.
But more than compression, it was more about, like, again, like, the characters and, like, what I'm learning here about Hattie as she's fighting dirty and what I'm learning about Deckard. It actually shows how similar they are, you know, in their styles. Tonally, too, it also allowed for the comedy to be broad on one side and the violence to be sort of tempered by the comedy on the other. It's like this fight gets toughened up by the violence of the other fight. That fight gets softened by the camp of this one, and it becomes one sort of fluid piece. Christopher Rouse was my editor, and I don't know if you know him, but he is a master editor and a journeyman and has been doing it a long time. He's Academy Award winner, really prolific. He has done the Bourne films, and he's also an editor that they call to fix movies when they're in trouble. I learned a lot from him on this movie, and this is sort of one of those editorial projects where you're just like, you can see his hand and his work and picking the moments to cross-cut, you know, finding the rhythm of the song. It's really a kind of a beautiful sort of exercise in editorial when I watch it.
Bet you wish you didn't take it easy now.
I wish a lot of things right now.
Here, there's sort of we wanted to use this as sort of the beginnings of Hobbs and Hattie's relationship. There is sort of a dance and a flirt going on. And it is a courtship in a weird way. Again, like, their romance doesn't fully develop, and it becomes more of a respect and a friendship, then maybe there's tension and sort of a what if and like who knows kind of ending. But we wanted to make sure that we had the building blocks and they felt authentic, and this was sort of a fun way to set up the sort of original, you know, their arc and their path. Here we see Deckard sort of landing on the grenade. The grenade is sort of the talisman for the Shaw family. It's like they're all into explosives. Here we are, Etion.
Perfection is a...
And we're hearing the director speak.
In ourselves and in the pursuit of a perfect...
I wanted to create a villain who was formidable, and I think, you know, adding sort of this heightened sort of physicality to Idris, who's already formidable, would make it you believe that, you know, our guys might not be able to make it out. In terms of this Etion and this sort of bigger agenda, this idea that technology may one day take us over, and technology may be to the benefit of all mankind, or it may be the fall of all mankind, and sort of posing that question through Idris, who is like struggling with it in his own way. Is he, you know, the more machine he becomes, the more humane he is, but is that really true, or is he being deluded by the machine itself?
What kind of rhythm you have? Where's the virus?
This scene, again, one of my favorite scenes, and in the extended cut, there's a very long version of this, and it's actually cut to the tango music. And this was intentionally shot to be cut as a tango, and we were reprising the tango later in different parts of the movie as we sort of like followed their relationship through the film. I think it became a little too stylized and heightened for the brand of Fast, but it's a very fun moment as you watch them. He actually starts the tango music on his phone, and it kind of plays as source throughout the scene, and there's a little bit of flirtation, and there's a little bit of back and forth chess playing before we get to the stakes where we're at right now.
But either way, the world thinks that you're a murderer and a thief. So you're not going anywhere or getting any goddamn phone call until you give me some real answers.
You have no idea what is happening here.
Then tell me, help me understand. Then I
You're
can't
wasting my
either. You're
time.
wasting...
I missed it, but, you know, I guess after years of directing movies, you learn that, you know, the storytelling process is about whittling things down, and, like, you want the movie to fall forward, and, like, there were a lot of stories to service in this film, a lot. You know, Hattie's and Hobbs' relationship, Hattie's and Shaw's relationships, Hobbs and Shaw's relationship, Shaw and Brixton's relationship. I mean, and they all have a backstory, or they're all revealing before our eyes, and it...
No. Nietzsche.
And then there's the plot of the virus, and it's a lot of things to get out and still have fun and still have room for these character moments like this.
She moves, I want you to shoot her.
Yeah, you can't.
The young gentleman on the left of screen is Kirk. He is a stuntman, and a lot of times stuntmen get to play little acting roles like this. You don't have a line or two. I did a lot of roles like this. And you got reactions, and you may, you know, but you can see, like, Kirk is actually delivers the goods, and, like, you know, he has these great facial expressions, and it makes me laugh. I'm a huge supporter of my stunt brethren, and it's so much easier, honestly, to shoot with a stuntman because the fight scene goes a lot faster. They're experts at it. They know where to be for camera. They just work every day.
Where'd you hear that?
Here's one of our many sort of physical prank gags, visual gags.
Me and the spy lady were not flirting, all right?
And then comedy, at the end of the day, the comedy that transcends into international is all sort of this physical type stuff. And a lot of that comes from, you know, the pioneers of it, Buster Keaton, Harold Lloyd, and then the person who I think it's the best of all time is Jackie Chan.
What eyebrow?
And Western audiences may not know how much Jackie Chan has really given to the action world. Yeah, there's a lot of movies from the 80s and 90s that were ripping off gags from Jackie movies that he was doing in Hong Kong at the same time. And, like, if you want to find physical comedy or you want to find really interesting ideas for action, it's sometimes good to just surf through your Jackie library. He's forgotten more about great action moves and ideas than most people could ever have come up with, so.
Oh, really?
I eat bullets all day long.
Go for breakfast or lunch, because it's dinner time.
I'll count down for you. 3,
2.
Hobbs! Freeze! Put that down. Get your greasy sausage fingers off of her.
What are you doing here?
Saving you.
He's got to need to be saved.
Here's a fun moment. We'd always hoped that we could keep this reveal for the movie, but I think early on in materials, they kind of gave it away. And it's hard because once you see Vanessa move, you realize, oh my God, she's, you know, there's more to her. She's got to be related to Shaw somehow. These guys really did a great job of like becoming brother and sister, and I think it's completely believable and plausible.
It's embedded in capsules. I need to find a way to get them out.
I love this shot. So we actually hooked her up to a wire there and blew air and rubber glass, and like she did the stunt. It was pretty amazing. She's pretty badass. Here we have the reveal, the second reveal of Brixton, the Idris character. Now we used to have a scene at the top floor here in one version of the movie, and then I put most of that dialogue down at the bottom. And so it was really just because I wanted to make sure that we kept the urgency of this scene and that our heroes didn't just have another standoff with exposition. And so we sort of cut it in a different way. Chris Rouse said, let's just get her out the window. And then I did a couple pickups on the street and additional photography where we got that exposition out that we needed. You can see this is a beautiful set we built at Leavesden Studio.
Now or never.
I'm more of a now type of guy.
On my three.
Here, this joke is pretty funny. Setting up the 1, 2, 3. I remember early on in the script stage working with Chris Morgan and Drew Pearce, visualizing this gag. On 3, 1, 2, and go out. It's pretty close to being scripted. This set piece was the brainchild of Chris Morgan, who is, you know, the crazy architect of most of these fast movies. And if you want to spend money and have a big set piece, he's the guy to call. Like, he comes up with these crazy ideas. If you notice the spider webbing on the window, we had to put the spider webbing over Dwayne's face as to mouth the you. We could not have the you. The MPAA recommended we take it out because we had the one you, which is the dueling shot close-ups that you saw earlier. And so we were really at times riding the line on PG-13. You know, at the end of the day, we did want to make sure that we were reaching sort of this family 4-quadrant audience, and it wasn't like I felt like I lost anything. It was just trying to get educated in what's acceptable. I'm used to making R movies, so. Here we get to see for the first time that Brixton is enhanced, and he has this ability to calculate things. And this idea that he can take in sort of this big data, calculate it, and know what's going to happen. So he has this sort of speed and predictability nature. He also has a suit that's bulletproof, and we learn about the beginnings of his and Shaw's past relationship.
Lucky for you, I am.
Yeah.
Nice suit.
Bulletproof.
So we were actually shooting on the streets in London. We had short days this day. It was freezing out. Doesn't look like it. We lost light at 4 in the afternoon, so it was really like, how do we shoot this fast? Pretty amazing. Jonathan Sella could move fast when he has to. It's down in the financial district, so we are there. We are in London. We are on the streets of London, locking it down, doing crazy stuff, blowing up cars. It was pretty epic 3 days.
Stop!
Hey, get in the car.
We're all going.
No, you. Just the girl.
I said, we're all going.
Disable the car. I need the girl alive.
There's a lot of fun extra lines in the extended scenes inside the car. This movie was a constant sort of ride the line with tone. Like, when do we want to be on stakes? When do we be on a joke? And the way I shoot is I try to give myself as many options as possible. Here, that's the back lot of Universal, by the way. So we had some additional photography to we needed to shorten this sequence. And I had to create a transition for Brixton to catch up. So we did a little bit of additional photography on the back lot of Universal, and I have to say it was really one of the funnest days of shooting, to be on that nostalgic back lot and then work with all my LA stunt friends and create this little bit of action, right, coming up here. This is all the work of Simon Crane, a second unit director, who we go way back. I was a stuntman with him on Troy and Mr. and Mrs. Smith when he was directing second unit on those movies, and he came in to shoot second unit for us in this sequence. This is the stuff we did in the back lot. This alley is all back lot, additional photography. This gag, my stunt friends, Chris Palermo designed it. He's journeyman stunt man. I've known him since I started in the business. We lived in a shitty apartment together. Yeah, it's fun. It's hard not to get sucked into the sequence because this thing really turned out well. And again, like, here we had this gag, another crazy Chris Morgan moment of like, what if Hobbs just grabs a guy off a motorcycle? And he does it.
Very good.
There's a lot of digital work in that moment, and there's some great effects houses that came through and helped us. This sequence is double negative, and they really did try to outdo themselves. We see that this tech company, Etion, has some pretty crazy equipment. And one of them is this motorcycle that is able to transform. And I remember when these shots started to come in, and I was like, holy crap. That is amazing, and people are gonna flip out. I really love it, and I think in future installments, if, let's say we bring Brixton back, who knows, like maybe he didn't die when he fell off the rocks, like we can bring that motorcycle back to do amazing things, and it could be really fun. So they shot this second unit in Glasgow. So really it's a combination of London, Glasgow, and LA backlot that put that sequence together.
Going to war then? Okay.
So coming up, we're shooting at the Naval Yard, Naval Academy in London. We shot plates at Piccadilly, but it was pretty funny. This day, we just ran out of lights so early that later on you'll see we were actually lighting night for day.
Update.
This is actually the inside of the McLaren plant. And when I scouted the location for the cars and met with the people, I'm like, hey, do you think we could use this as the evil lair for the tech cult called Etion? And so the locations department put together a proposal, and they let us shoot inside the McLaren factory. This is where they do all their presentations, and it just felt like it had this tech cult vibe.
To start their reign of terror. Just got real.
Here's where I'm talking, like, those are plates for Piccadilly. I think Dan Glass Visual Effects shot them, and
With a mercenary army and plenty of dark money.
UK.
And delusions of saving the world by augmenting the human race.
That's it.
it's really sort of fun putting together this idea that they are like this Illuminati sort of like puppet mastery, secret sort of company that has tentacles all over the world, and a mercenary army and money and you know, and power, and able to reach a lot of people to enforce their agenda.
Is your name short? Nah. Then she's going nowhere with you.
When it comes to the fate of the...
You know, the idea that this virus would allow them to get rid of the people who who can't accept the technology that they want to put into the people. And we were kind of the idea of leave the technology idea a mystery. But at the core of the idea is that they basically want to turn us all into machines and sort of to work under them. And they only want to give it to the strong. So there's sort of this sort of fascist underpinnings of that. And then there's this this idea that they have control over those that they put the technology in. And so this director, who Idris is talking to, is sort of creating his world in his vision, and it is a world that he will ultimately control everybody in it. And I tried to leave that a little bit more subtle and a little more sophisticated and a little bit more of a mystery so we can unpack it in the future and really just focus on Brixton as a character and his relationship with Shaw. We'll later find out in future installments that, you know, the director, who's ever behind the curtain here, has a relationship with Hobbs. And, you know, this company's not going away. And, you know, again, technology may save us, but it may destroy us. And that's sort of a big sort of theme out there.
Hobbs and Shaw could be considerable assets for each other.
Turn them. Sorry, I don't follow.
I want them turned. I want them working for the cause. Understood?
They can't be turned.
What makes you so certain?
The last time we asked, I got shot in the face. That makes me very...
I remember shooting this scene with Idris. We were riffing on pages and we were improvising, and I was kind of doing the off-camera to take him different places because I collaborated closely with Idris on his character. He really wanted to make sure that he wasn't just a one-dimensional henchman or villain. He really wanted to have some other crisis going on, and so he has the relationship with Shaw, but he also has this director who is his boss, who is also has the ability to unplug him at any time. And so his journey to be a villain is also not as easy as you'd think. It's complex.
On this call right now. Watch this. Hi, Locke.
Everybody's safe, everybody's great. I'm actually at our old,
This always gets a laugh. It's actually something that I just shot, honestly, because I was waiting for, we were waiting an hour for DJ, and I'm like, hey, get over there, and we just sort of riffed on a moment. Like, what if you were listening in on the call, and like, it was a moment that we just came up with quickly to sort of explain that Hobbs was covering all the bases to protect his family, and just to remind the audience that he's not a negligent father.
Tell us everything you know.
I love this set, and this is in East London. It was an old brewery.
30 hours ago?
And the capsules containing the...
And our department had, you know, dressed it and brought in all this scientific equipment, and we sort of created this visqueen sort of like layers where we could write on, and it looked like he's sort of like Diary of a Madman, right? He's been writing formulas for weeks and weeks trying to figure out how to solve this, find an antidote for this virus.
They told me they wanted to save the world through science. I believed in their cause. I developed the snowflake.
Here, you guys know Eddie Marsan, worked with him many times on Deadpool 2, on Atomic Blonde. He's always a pleasure to work with. Incredible actor and professional, and just delivers every time he shows up. Like, it's always so additive. Like, I give him like a one-sentence log line of like what I want his character to be, and then he comes back with like 5 or 6 notes of like how he doesn't have to change any dialogue, but like the physicality of him or the, you know, the way he's going to present something. It really makes a character come to life.
Yeah, it doesn't work for us. Option number 2.
There is a machine that could preserve her life and extract the virus.
Well, that should have been option number 1.
Because it's impossible to get to.
We'll decide what's impossible. Where is it?
It's in the Etienne laboratory where the snowflake was developed. A secret dark tech complex fortified by an army in the most godforsaken part of the planet. But if you go there, all 3 of you will die.
So basically what you're saying is she dies no matter what.
Well, who needs a drink?
I got just the place.
Here we are heading into Shaw's lair. Again, we're shooting on the east side of London. Practical location.
Wow, look at all these.
We get to see that Shaw does love cars a lot, especially British cars. So coming up here is where we had the Tango play out a little bit more with Hattie and Hobbs. And the tango started to play as she poured the drink, and it just reminded us of the tango, sort of the chess match that they played in the CIA office.
Drink.
Yeah, I'll take a little one.
I love that. I love just his look. So we're setting up this Eiza González's character, her and her band of thieves that Shaw uses to get gear and get access to places, and just basically is sort of a force multiplier for his missions around the world. We'd hope that Eiza could do more in the movie. It's just really, again, like a 2-hour movie. You know, she's kick-ass, and she and her band of criminal friends should have their own spin-off, in my opinion. Like, it would be really fun. Madame M and her crew, we would call it.
Don't believe everything they tell you. Smile.
You see here the beginnings of another piece of narrative. It's like Hattie referring to the fact that Deckard is disgraced from the MI6, and that the rumor is that he killed his own team. And he reminds her that you can see how easily it is to frame somebody in this technological age. Don't you remember what you just saw out at Piccadilly?
Gets past the wandering eyes at the airport. This is probably the only thing that's gonna fit.
And there you have it. She's beginning to learn that maybe it's not all what she thinks it is. And they're beginning to make their journey back.
What do we got, tough guy? Come on.
So this next joke, again, I love these close-ups and, like, you know, making these really sort of like fun wide-angle close portraits of the characters when they're doing these fun things. There's a longer version of this in the extended scenes where we add text to the screen and we have real fun, and you get to see sort of, it's a little bit more visuals to help you do it. And then we go on, the My Cock Small joke goes on and on, uncomfortably long in one version, and it's actually really fun. Again, the momentum of the movie, you get the laugh and you earn it, you take it, you celebrate it, and you move on. But in the extended scenes, you sit here until it gets uncomfortable and then you laugh again. And I was torn, but I actually really like how it plays in the studio's cut.
Let's go. Hands on your head, pop small.
There's a lot of comedy to come in this sort of section of the movie, and it was really important that we could keep the pace moving.
It's bad enough I've got this thing in my blood that's going to kill me and everyone else, but we
So this is also a really beautiful scene. These two have a great chemistry. He believes she'd be his sister.
You still wear that silly thing? Didn't know you still had that.
So the idea is that he gave her the grenade pin as a gift a long time ago, and she's always kept it. It's sort of her talisman, reminding her of him, even though they're estranged. She never really got rid of him, and that's sort of what I wanted to do with that as a metaphor.
It's not happening.
Hi, I'm here. I'm Michael.
All right, big audience moment. Dwayne is really good at comedy.
Hello.
He's such a talented actor, but he's a really seasoned comedian. And, you know, when you look back his career, he's done so much comedy that it's actually a pleasure to work with him. And he knows his way around a joke, and he definitely knows at all times what the audience is going to like. Here's a little moment of them flirting and her realization that this guy is not all that she thought he was. And he's beginning to grow on her. If you can see her little reaction here.
I love your babushka.
Yeah, this little section on the plane is some of my favorite stuff. I mean, Jason is incredible in it as well, and it showcases their acting chops, their ability to be earnest and sincere and real in those moments, but then also their comedic chops. And we're flipping on a dime. It's not easy to do, and it's like, it takes really sort of high-level actors to pull that off, and I'm pretty grateful of this incredible cast that I have. Like, even in the last 20 seconds, we just saw Idris Elba, you know, Eddie, Jason, Dwayne, Vanessa. That's pretty amazing. And you're about to see Kevin Hart kind of humbled what we put together.
So why don't you be a good elephant, suck up another kilo of peanuts, put your chair back and relax.
All right, listen, don't ever tell me to relax. All right, don't tell me to do anything.
This scene right here is a reason to make Hobbs and Shaw. It's what it's all about. It's the frenemies, the banter, the classic banter.
And you, look at you, man.
You stick out like balls on a bulldog. There used to be a line in there, you know, sticking out in all the wrong places, waiting to get caught on a barbed wire fence or airport security. I kind of missed that line. And then this whole idea of like impregnating your sister was something we came around to at the last minute. It was in the script for a long time and it got put away. And I think it was like the night before shooting, it just seemed like the right thing to throw in. And I was having a discussion with Jason and I'm like, I feel like it's the right thing to throw in because it'll just now up the stakes of your, you know, you have something more to sort of bitch about to each other. You know, it was at some point the banter gets repetitive and you needed to sort of up the ante. And now the ante is not only, I don't like you, I don't like that you like my sister. And it's like, you need places to go or this stuff can get very, very one note.
My entire life. And if she chooses to look the way of this big, brown, well-endowed...
This is a lot of Dwayne coming up with his riffs. He's really a genius at the insult game. And I think it's years in the WWE and being the megastar that he was. Like, you have to come up with this stuff on the fly. But he would come up with it, and he'd have alts written. And he's really good at this game. He's really good at this game. And a lot of times supporting Shaw, coming up with great lines for him as well. He is good at the one-upmanship insult game.
You back as air and opportunity. And there goes the air.
Bring it on, Don Ho.
Don Ho.
So now, hey, cut it out.
So here's a great moment for the audience, the reveal of Agent Dinkley and Kevin Hart. Obviously, Dwayne and Kevin go way back, so Dwayne had, they were working on something together right before Dwayne came to set. And he'd been talking to Kevin about being in the movie, and Kevin really wanted to be in the movie, and it's like, how do we just dip our toe? We have so many stories to tell. It's kind of like the same with Ryan. It's like, I wanted to populate the world, but I couldn't make them fully developed characters yet. They're just a seasoning and a promise of what this world's gonna be. And, you know, again, like, grateful to have him come out and play. And Chris Morgan, you know, wrote these pages. Kevin riffed on them, and he's a great writer himself. And so having these great comedians come in and give you their insight and expertise is pretty fun. Kevin is so gracious and so talented. I would look forward to working with him anytime.
Yeah, you wanna know what I do? I sit in a can of farts all day long. That's what I'm dealing with. It's an occasional terrorist and a lot of recycled ass. I would give anything to be on the front line again.
Again.
What? I was a compartmental element for JSOC. You were Delta. Same as Echo 24/7, baby.
Echo, those guys were the warlocks because of the magic they could...
And there's a longer version of this on the extended scenes, so you can feel free to enjoy that, because it was hard, you know.
No.
You're trying to build the pace of the movie, and you can see that this scene is probably almost 2 minutes long, and it's not a traditional length for a scene, a lot like the Pancake House. But I think when the audience is enjoying something, you just have to embrace it and let them enjoy it. And that's what we did. But there are plenty of jokes of his on the cutting room floor, and you're like, you wish you could have it all. And you just learn that you got to pick the ones that work, and you got to keep the pace going, and you got to sort of be falling forward with the movie. This idea that he can get them anything, and that he can, he's an air marshal, so he has access to all aircrafts all around the world, and trying to set him up for the future in the movie, but also the future of the franchise.
Please let me go.
So this location was actually at a smaller airport, but it's also an event center. So the idea is we wanted to have an underground sort of expansive high-tech lab that was hiding in plain sight in the outskirts of an abandoned power plant in sort of Ukraine. in the spirit of like a Chernobyl or something like that, places where no one would ever go. So to get this sort of expansive look, we actually went to this convention center and took it over and then brought in all this dressing. So the building is real. That's not set extension. And the dressing is all sort of designed by art department and David Schoeneman. And you can see we're going for the 2-color palettes in the spirit of like what we're doing the rest of the movie.
Small change.
Idris gives a great performance here. And it is sort of laying out the plot of the movie, like what is a man's life worth? One of the bigger existential questions. And in Idris's world and his cult, a man's life isn't worth much. It's really technology is going to save the day, and humans are just kind of expendable. Here we're in a Russian mansion. We wanted, as quickly as we could, show how Eiza is a badass and her team work, and the fact that they could take over the house of one of the most prolific Russian gangsters and steal their gear and use their airstrip outside, and she did it all within 24 hours. That's what we were trying to demonstrate here. And also the surprise moment of the kiss. Now, you see I cut to them and double cut back, so we tried to make the kiss as long as possible. Always gets a big laugh.
Oh, I did not see that coming.
Dwayne had some alts on this, but maybe none of them safe for PG-13.
That's for a house on a runway.
So this idea that Eiza's character is named Madam M, or we call it Margarita, we'd hope that she can come back in the future and, like, she's a master criminal and she can get pretty much anything from anywhere at any time. And she's seated in the underworld, and she knows her way around all the bad guys.
Could be anywhere.
That facility is 3 square miles of research labs.
Yeah. And it's a powder keg packed with munitions.
Here we're going to get to the plot point about the Mick Jagger, and again, how Hattie and Shaw had these grifts as kids. And, you know, they worked together so much. Let's use one of our old plans. The Mick Jagger is basically your typical inside job. One person's got to get on the inside, and the other guys, you know, make the music. So we set up the idea of the Mick Jagger, which pays off later with our heroes.
No, I can do it. We can do it.
So now the only question is how to ring Etion's dinner bell.
Oh, I can handle that part. First, let's get you geared up.
Here's a little gear porn coming up, as I like to call it. We get to see them in classic sort of action movie style, getting all their spy gack. It's fun.
Evo 3 with optical sights. Ultra-thin, bullet-resistant Kevlar. Infrared cameras for seeing through walls. And last but not least...
And compact hydrogen detonator. I have no idea if that exists. Actually, I do have an idea if that exists. It does not exist. But it exists in the Hobbs and Shaw world. So this scene, again, like we're just following their story and their arc. And I wanted to sort of ground her as a badass and start to connect them with some real stakes.
Let me tell you something else. The key to immortality is first living a life.
And it's charming in a way that they keep going back to these quotes of Bruce Lee or Nietzsche, but that they're kind of earning a respect for each other. I think we shot this scene, honestly, in about 10 minutes at the end of a day. And it was so good, I did 2 takes of each, and I moved on. They were on fire.
How'd you find out?
You've heard about me. I'm good at my job.
But you're not?
Here's the handover.
Yeah.
You can see that Madam M gets to play in all these shady circles, and she was able to reach Brixton and provide the handover. So this section of the movie was a lot longer, and what I did is I had to really sort of condense it in sort of the style of a heist. We kind of needed to get into the plot and get into the sort of underground power plant and start the action. So it became, again, sort of in the spirit of the intercutting that we were doing, Chris Rouse and I, we really sort of hopscotched through this part of the movie. And I think for the betterment of the movie.
I got shotgun. No. Don't start. I got shotgun.
There's a longer scene of them in the plane where Dwayne is discussing the weight of the parachutes, and it's like it doesn't, he weighs more than what the parachutes can hold, and it's really fun, and you can see that in the extended scenes as well. Here's his payback for the 3-2-1, and his payback line for "Nobody tells me what to do." The visual effects in this section are amazing. That's some great work from Dan Glass and the team. I mean, this hangar was massive.
So I'm intrigued. Do you wash the blood off your hands before you count your money, or is it afterwards?
Here we get to learn a little bit more about the agenda of Etion.
Dismiss. You don't get it, do you? You're the weak.
And a little bit about the past with Shaw and Brixton.
Like killing innocent people with viruses?
Only the weak ones. We're dealing with the future of the planet, things that money cannot buy.
Oh, like your soul back?
My soul. Your brother took my soul.
It's hard. I mean, he's such a charismatic actor, I get speechless. So, I really do love Idris in this movie. And again, like, it was the close collaboration with him that made the villain so interesting and complex. There's a little bit more to this scene, and I don't know if it's in the extended version, but it's a few lines dropped here and there. Idris used to say, you guys should feel lucky you're saving the world our way, sort of reminding them that he believes this is right and that people should be merging with machines and we should be getting rid of the dead weight. Otherwise, humanity's not going to survive. There's too many people on the planet.
Timer set for 45 minutes. We get in and get out.
Blow this death fighter to pieces. Remember the hallway.
So this is a classic sort of physical comedy gag that our stunt brothers came up with. Greg Rementer, who was the fight coordinator and one of the stunt coordinators, and also shot second unit, usually on the fight stuffs as well.
I made a mistake.
The guys came up with this idea. One side full of guys, the other side has one guy. It actually came from the script stage. It's Drew Pearce and Chris Morgan with the conceit. But when you see the fight viz, which I hope would be on the Blu-ray, you'll see this is pretty close to the way the stunt guys designed it. The team designed it. I do enjoy this sort of physical comedy with these guys. There's still stakes, but we can have fun. And it's really like we're learning about them. So. Jason is exceptional at fight scenes. I've worked with him extensively over the years. We've done probably 5 movies together as either a stunt man or a fight choreographer or a second unit director. Like, I've worked with him a lot. And he likes to train at 8711 in his downtime. And even movies that we don't do, he prepares at 8711 with the guys and gets brushed up on fight scenes. I mean, it really is a skill that you gotta keep working on. It's like dance. You can lose your timing and you can lose your ability to mimic motion, and he's always working on it. And he's one of the best in the business.
Enter corresponding match. Access denied.
So we are smashing their faces into the wall, but we had created these rubber pads on the door, and then visual effects helped us by obviously making them feel stiffer and putting the lighting in. But yeah, that black pad was, the art department had made it out of rubber, so we are hitting their heads, but they're hitting a soft object.
Access denied. Access denied. Access denied.
And then, of course, the sound department, who was amazing on this movie, they are adding a sound effect that makes it feel even more painful. So.
Access granted. Doors opening.
Very good. Well done, boys.
They were found out. They were caught. And they are going to be interrogated. So there's another fight scene. There's a lot of fight scenes in the movie, and I think it's there's a lot of styles of shooting fight scenes. This is what I'd call sort of a jump cut version. It's a little more impressionistic. We're sort of skipping through what she's doing, and so there's a lot of cuts, as you can see. Sound is helping. And it sort of gives you that effect of like how proficient and quick she is, but it's really sort of like 4 or 5 cuts of like what just happened.
What are you doing?
Having to extract it myself.
Here she's got the extraction machine and she's heading out the door. And she's gonna take the scientist with her. This is such a fun scene, and again, it's like the reason you make Hobbs and Shaw. It's like these two guys forced to work together. Here they're chained to chairs, forced to hang out together. I mean, they couldn't be more repulsed by each other.
I must admit,
We get to learn a little bit about Idris's agenda, and we've gone through this monologue a ton of times and like tried to pare it down and like what's the essential things we need to know. We're carrying a lot of water. Like, you got the backstory between, again, you got the backstory between Brixton and Shaw, but then you also have sort of Etion's agenda. And, you know, they believe they're saving the world by getting rid of the weak and merging the rest of the people with this new technology that makes them stronger. This scene is it's a little bit of a mix between Vanessa and the stunt double.
do you remember when we were real brothers?
Vanessa was incredible in the action sequences.
We ended up seeing the worst in people, worst in our countries, our leaders, our enemies, our friends.
Again, Idris is so compelling as an actor. I mean, on screen and in person, his physicality is, you know, imposing, and he has a gravitas that is undeniable. I do like he's a little bit of a sadist here, and he kind of enjoys this. And you can see a little bit of a departure between Shaw's character, who slightly more noble, but at the end of the day, Brixton's a true believer, and he wants to save the world. It's just a very flawed way.
They're lunatics.
Visionaries of a future, a bigger future, a brighter future. You remember the data they gave us, man? What with?
We shot the scene over 2 days, and it was really just more about making sure we got all the moments right. There's a lot of specific camera angles, and I did a lot of the dialogue in all these different spots, and it was a lot to put on the actors to keep getting back into the space, because it's hard to break a scene up like that. But again, we had such an incredible group of professionals that they indulged me, and it was really nice.
That's 3. I love this thing.
Told you then. I'm telling you now. Your metrics are off.
This idea that, I don't know if the science is right, but the idea that they're hooked up to the car batteries and the engines are revving, and like sort of like adding the car motif to the torture scene was just a sort of nod to sort of the car fetish world of the Fast universe. That is Brixton's talisman, the bullet, and so he's kept that, you know, his entire life since, or at least the last 8 years since Shaw has shot him. And I try to give everybody in the movie a talisman or a token that could be a visual, emotional reminder to the audience. And so Hattie has the grenade pin that connects her to Shaw. Brixton has the bullet that connects him to Shaw. Hobbs has the picture that connects him to Jonah.
But I think about that now a lot. I think about it. Because what I realize now that I did not realize then is that when you shot me, you gave me a gift. Look at me. I'm Black Superman.
So the Black Superman line is, I guess we were doing interviews on the red carpet for the premiere the other day, and it's a little bit of a point of contention who came up with it. Honestly, I can't remember. I think it could be Dwayne who came up with the idea. We should say Black Superman. It's brilliant, and I think it obviously worked really well in marketing materials. Tonally, in the movie, it happens in a really dark place. So it's funny when you see things in the trailers that are, they're fun. It's like, he's saying it so cavalier, like, I'm Black Superman. And it's out of context and you laugh. But in this part of the movie, you don't laugh because he's like really giving his speech about what he believes in. And it's this sort of, the more machine I become, the more humane I am. Look at me. They fixed me. They rebuilt me. I'm Black Superman. I can do anything. It's a very, very sincere and sort of stakesy moment. Doesn't allow you to laugh.
See you later. Wait! I think we should join.
Join?
You said some really compelling things, and I mean, that Black Superman thing, that really got me. I love that.
What are you, deaf, stupid, or both? We ain't joining.
There you go again. You're just thinking about yourself. You're such a diva. What about my feelings? For once, let me tell you something.
Now here, you're allowed to laugh. I mean, this stuff. Here we get the payoff of the Mick Jagger and was part of the script that Drew, Pearce, and Chris Morgan came up with, and I just really love the idea of these British rock stars and, naming their heists and their grifts after British rock stars was, I thought, such a clever idea.
Off this chair. I'm gonna smash him right in the face, stab him right in the neck for looking.
So that is Greg Rementer, the guy with the gray beard. That's our stunt coordinator, fight choreographer. The other guy with the red beard, that's Cale Schultz. He also got killed in John Wick. He also got killed in Atomic Blonde. They're both stuntmen. You'll see them throughout my movies.
See that guy over there? The big one.
Here's some classic comedy, face mask guy, dropkick guy. This is actually something that Chris Morgan came up with on set, and we started to riff on it. Sort of a riff on the Billy Jack idea, and that's where Dwayne was riffing in on that. It's like, I want to do this thing where I'm going to, take my leg and put it upside your head, and there's nothing you can do about it. So we had that.
I'm not small change.
Here's Eddie's payback with his line. There's this idea of the ET-on chips, and we needed a way for the third act set piece to be without guns, to stay within the bounds of PG-13, but also just, I've done a lot of gun movies in my day, and I really wanted to lean into sort of martial arts at the end, and I wanted to do the Samoan weapons battle, and I really wanted to creatively have sort of a 13 Assassins kind of moment in the island where the brothers sort of fight with this sort of makeshift idea. So we had to set up the guns that they switched on and off, and you need an activation chip for the gun, and that allowed us to shut the guns down. And I thought it was a really good creative solution. And fun, and then allows for the fun set piece later on. Here's some of Simon Crane's work, dovetailed into some of my work. But again, it was great having Simon for, our time in London to, pick up a couple days here and there and get some really compelling action, when we needed it.
Never fails.
So now it's funny, we're gonna drive out of this compound, and you'll see that car, basically, we got to cut out right now because there's nowhere to go. That car has to slam on the brakes. And then we cut to Doncaster, sort of northern UK. And now we're outside at the real sort of abandoned power plant that we're doubling for Ukraine. Yeah, this Black Superman joke and a runner, the more I think about it, the more I think it was Dwayne's call. He really is Black Superman.
It really is Black Superman.
So the idea of the charge was sort of it wasn't in the script. And I have, through years of being a director and a second unit director, I always try to cover my butt with sort of like, okay, what if we need a way out of this scenario or this or that? And so I had them put the charge on in that scene, and I'm like, if all else fails, we can have an explosion that sort of leads us out of the chairs, and like, how are they gonna get out of the chairs? And long story short, it became sort of it was a backup thing that I had in my pocket. So in editorial, we actually made it have more relevance to the plot. Here you get to see some great combination of visual effects and practical stunts. Man, this sequence, I don't even know how many visual effects shots there are, but again, the more you can shoot in camera, the more the effects are gonna look great, and that's where Dan Glass and I work together really well. You challenge then the artists to make everything else look practical. So in most of these shots, there's some practical element, like the building there is real, the foreground of all of them is real. There's so much real in these shots, but then there's also like a lot of digital work that helps us. Again, such a great team of effects artists. You'd think that this was all great compositing, but this is all real backgrounds, and that's real backgrounds, and we're actually driving around these cooling towers, and it's pretty amazing.
You thinking what I'm thinking, Shaw? Let's trade some paint.
Trade some paint.
Funny, we had such a short window on post that so many of these effect shots were coming in last minute. I would say, the movie, honestly, I'm giving this commentary and the movie hasn't even come out yet. So we're recording it so we can get this into the process with the making of the Blu-ray and the digital assets. So it'll be interesting how the world responds to the movie. But there's so much beautiful integration between practical and digital effects in this sequence, and I think that's what makes it so compelling. I am in awe that how they did it in such a short post. I mean, 22-week post, and some of these shots that would normally be 20-week shots were done in 10 weeks. Some of them that were 15 weeks were done in 8 weeks. Like, there's a lot of great artists and a lot of people, sleepless nights. Here's our transforming motorcycle. And some little bit of splinter unit from Simon Crane and putting some stuff together for us.
I know what you're thinking.
Just keep driving, I'll make it.
Take the wheel.
So there's a fight scene on the back of the truck, and we really needed these moments to demonstrate that Brixton was powerful and he could like handle these guys in so a protracted fight really didn't work. We had a long, protracted sort of kung fu style fight where our heroes never get a shot off, and it just really didn't tell the story as well as like, they walk up and he sits them down. And it's just more, this fight was reduced really just for storytelling. It's like, look he's strong, I will crush you no matter what you do. You can't hit me and I will knock you down. So it became very simplified and more on story. And, really it's sort of the luck of the bomb that ultimately saves them. Great picture car coordinator, Alex King in London. We came up with a way to put casters on the back of that so we could actually drive it with just the front drivetrain, and pretty amazing. This is actually in the UK too, and we found this like great location just outside of London, some old abandoned military barracks where we could shoot for the sort of dilapidated Ukrainian city a la Chernobyl, and so all of this is in camera and it's gorgeous.
I'm tired, Deck. I'm done running.
We still got time.
I love this scene. We sort of lean into the drama here, and I think Jason, this is one of his best performances in the movie, and Vanessa, and you really feel for them here. Jonathan Sella, who had just before this worked with Michael Bay on The Last Transformers, we sort of shot this in golden hour, and we did, you know, kind of what he described as like what he would do on a Michael Bay movie. Like golden hour becomes like the time. So we had the crane all ready to go. We had Steadicam. We had dolly track laid. And as soon as golden hour hit, like we were shooting with this great, beautiful, natural light. And that's how you get this sort of warm, beautiful, contrasty backlight that, you know, you're not faking it. It's real. It's in camera. And you shoot in that window of time. The problem is it's to match it, it's hard. So you got to make sure you get the scene done. And that's how you get that great sort of beautiful shots like that. There's Hobbs' talisman. You're going to take us home.
Where?
It's the last place on earth I ever want to go.
So this needle drop that's coming up, we looked and looked and looked, and we had some sort of classic sort of, you know, Pacific Islander style music here. This is actually a Samoan group, and I was always on the fence on it. Creatively, Kelly was like really advocating for it, and ultimately, like, it grew on me, and it's a good departure from what we just come from, and like this crazy, massive set piece, and then we can actually have a palate cleanser and get into some comedy. Here we get to see Kevin Hart again. He came in for an additional day of photography and helped us condense the movie and get them to Chernobyl quickly. And so we reprised his role as the air marshal, and he secures them the plane that gets them to Samoa. And the promise of him being in the franchise in the future. Fingers crossed, knock on wood.
My mom number 2. I'm gonna make sure you got that.
There's also a great scene in the extended scenes where the heroes duel over the radio, and it is actually one of my favorite bits in the movie. But if you have Kevin Hart come in, you don't really want to not put that in the movie because it's gold. But there's a great moment of them dueling over the radio that I love, and you can see that in the extended scenes.
If it doesn't kill me first.
Here we arrive at Hobbs' family home. This was built by the production designer, David Schoeneman. We found this beautiful location in Kauaʻi to double for Samoa. This is all in camera. There's no compositing here. We built this on a cliff. I look at it and it's like, it was so gorgeous there.
Oh, here we go.
Incredible place to spend a couple weeks of photography. But we built this sort of as a riff on the traditional sort of Samoan architecture. Cliff Curtis, incredible actor who graciously came on board to, you know, give us our authenticity to Dwayne's brother. And, you know, there were many ideas, like the original idea is like, we got to find someone who's bigger than Dwayne so Dwayne can be the little guy. And to be honest, I've never lost on betting on a real actor and like a great actor. So instead of like going for size and the gimmick of big, I went for big in personality and big in acting chops. And when Cliff agreed to take the job, he says, look, I'll go toe to toe with DJ and I will bring it out of him. And he did. And he's a seasoned actor and he's a great actor. And he was a really good collaborator with DJ, and we got sort of great performances out of both these actors. It's pretty amazing.
Oh, God, I miss my baby boy. But look at you, all skin and bones. Come over here and eat.
No, Mama. There's no time. Look, I'm sorry. I didn't want to bring trouble here.
So this is, you know, Hobbs' mom. She is actually sort of now, she steals the show. She's sort of the loving, quintessential Samoan mom with the slipper a doom.
Everybody around the world. Jonah, I need you to...
Again, we're shooting this all in the house we built and on the cliff edge. So it's all real ocean out there, and it's real authentic.
We could die. Good. Because
I was really grateful for Universal to let us go to Kauaʻi and shoot there. It's really special. You're going to see soon the reason we went. There is a old sugar mill that is abandoned. It's actually sort of a tourist site because it's so beautiful, and it's sort of rusted, broken down nature, and it's really graphic, and it's big, and it's nestled up against this beautiful sort of mountainside. And it really spoke to me as like where these people could be from, and we built the chop shop on the inside of that, and it became a bigger sort of piece of production design than you could ever build. And it's all in camera and for real.
And I'm gonna saucer your big fat heads. You boys hear me?
Here she's hitting home the emotional sort of arc for Hobbs, and like, family will always come through. You're Samoan, you know, whatever you need, we're gonna give it to you. We're back, and so we wanted to lay the stakes out and set the table for the third act. And this operation scene used to be in the beginning of the movie. And so we revealed that he had all this metal in his body, you know, not unlike a Wolverine or Terminator type. You know, he has this sort of augmentation going on. But we decided to save the reveal for the third act and sort of up the stakes and hit home that this time Brixton wasn't going to have anything restricting him. Steve Dunleavy, one of my stunt friends and actors. Those are all stunt guys. It's a great matte painting by Visual Effects. And there's the sugar mill. That's all real. And it just spoke to me, and I said, we got to come here. We got to shoot this. It will be a great backdrop for the Ancient Weapons battle, and we won't be comping anything. It just exists. We were lucky to get it, and we were lucky that Universal let us do it. And this is all the inside of that place. You know, making it happen, seeing the dapple light come through. It's just sort of beautiful and scopy, and you just couldn't build it.
My old man started coming around again, taking a real interest in his sons. Truth is, he was just looking for a new crew. And I was the only one to see through those lies.
There's a longer version of this scene somewhere, and but I think we really sort of trimmed it down to the brass tacks. It's like he's estranged from his family, and he made some choices, but he doesn't regret them. But I think we'll find out later that the only regrets he really has is that he didn't reach out sooner. And again, like, maybe that's good for all of us, and sort of one of the big themes of the movie, outside of like blowing shit up and driving fast cars and kicking ass. It's like, it shouldn't take global stakes to reconnect with the people that we care about.
Lucky me.
So this is something I wanted to do, and it's actually Sorian and Will, two of my great storyboard artists on this movie. We were trying to solve the problem of like what the family does. Is it a chop shop? Is it not a chop shop? And I think it was a riff on them. It's like, what if it's custom cars and they've actually gone clean? And it was something that Dwayne wanted too. It's like, I don't necessarily want the family to be criminals. And so we were working through some of these things in real time as we were filming, as like the script was evolving and we were discovering things. And we decided on Hobbs Customs pretty late in the game. But I got so excited at the idea of Hobbs Customs as the promise of the future. I mean, we get to have these beautiful custom vehicles built by Dennis McCarthy and his team, who builds all the cars for the Fast movies. And the promise of seeing that type of sort of car aficionado stuff in the franchise moving forward is exciting, I think, for everybody.
These guns, they kill all my family. So we're gonna fight.
Here's a heartfelt message about the guns. And look, there are a couple things going on here. One is like, I didn't really want another shoot 'em up set piece. We had a PG-13 movie. I really wanted to have a great sort of fight scene in the spirit of Braveheart that connected these brothers. It was emotional and blood and sweat and mud. But also it was like Mom gave a little bit of sort of a message to moms about guns. And, you know, we've had enough.
Ready?
War's what I do.
Let's go old school. Take a look around. This is where we draw the line. Who would have thought this?
So I actually came up with this idea where these guys could work together to form a battle plan. And again, like I said, it was in the spirit of like, you know, one of many of my favorite movies, but one of the movies that influenced me for this was 13 Assassins, where it's sort of classic storytelling or Western where the town bands together to defend themselves from the army that's coming. And so the heroes develop this idea of the kill box. They create a trap. There's a lot longer versions of this where they really talk about how the sugar cane is turned into ethanol and that, you know, Shaw knows how to use it. And like, I mean, there's really sort of a lot of exposition that we had that was really fun. We sort of condensed it into more of a stylized montage of like, you get it, like, Jonah's a craftsman who builds custom cars. He's going to fix the machine. Hobbs and Shaw are warriors. They're going to go out there and build the traps. The island's going to provide the natural resources that they need to fight technology. And it is sort of like analog versus digital, man versus machine, you know, humans versus technology, human will versus computers. Like all that is what we're trying to set the stage for. And we're doing it with this great song that, again, the music department came through with. It was on a list of tracks that were sort of kind of related to this idea of family that I had asked for. And this one really resonated with me. And it was one of the first songs I picked for the movie. And we started to cut different versions of montages to this. But it's some good, you know, sexy shots of Dwayne and Jason and the brothers, and Roman gets a couple great moments here. We get to see the brothers working in action, and I really love this scene. I'm kind of in my element when I just get to shoot beautiful stuff. We had a good friend of mine, Alex Gaynor, who's a first AD and now a second unit director and a director as well, and he came out to Hawaii for a couple days, and he helped us shoot some of the work that was going on in there as well.
On the satellite for 6 minutes.
6 minutes might be all the time we need.
If you look closely, the background posters, there's some Easter eggs in that scene where you can actually see a shot of Dwayne and his dad when they were kids. Some beautiful helicopter photography by Fred North, who's a prolific helicopter pilot in the business, and he worked around the clock for us while we were in Hawaii. I love this scene. There's longer versions of it. In a different version, we explain the grenade pin and how Shaw gave it to her. But I really just wanted to get to the emotional part and get into the business of the movie. She's amazing in this. And again, we shot this golden hour. You schedule it at the end of the day and you're waiting for that sun to get low in the sky, and you get this sort of vibe that you can't get any other way.
Running away.
Me too. Yeah. I've been back here in 25 years. I mean,
So they have a real chemistry in the movie, and I think it's they earned a respect for each other in real life as well. And I think there's this moment, it's pretty funny, like we had talked about the kiss. Should we not have the kiss? Should we have the kiss? Should we not have the kiss? You know, we kind of shot the film in order, not intentionally, but that's sort of how the schedule played out. So we knew all the steps leading up to this moment. And I remember before the scene started, we were like, we'd all agreed that we weren't going to do the kiss. And it's like, it's not romantic enough. We should leave the promise of this for the future. And then everyone's like, yeah, no kiss. We didn't earn it. And then in take two, Vanessa just like dives in and kisses him. And Dwayne reacts and kisses back in the moment acting. And it became this genuine moment of shock, and it didn't feel romantic. It felt sweet, and it felt like, you know, two people that were facing death, and like more of respect and friendship, and like just sort of this caring human moment that it felt real. You know, I kept it in the movie. It was like such a genuine, authentic moment, and I think audiences are going to love it.
Jonah, now! Okay, fine, okay. Here goes nothing.
Brace yourself, Eds.
It ain't gonna be pleasant.
No, it's gonna be fine.
So here we get to see inside the machine. I was trying to sort of play with the idea that we go inside the cars and we get to see how the engines work, and like maybe we should do some of that interesting detailed storytelling inside, you know, so people understand that the virus has been encased in capsules and that she's not sick yet. And so that's where we decided to go inside and sort of do that visual effects type work.
That's it.
As we planned?
As we planned.
Usos! It's time. Jonah.
So here's the scene between Cliff Curtis and Dwayne. This is my favorite Dwayne scene in the movie. And I remember when this was the last day of shooting, the last scene we shot. This is it. We are done with the movie right here. And I remember texting him afterwards, and I just said, that scene's going to be epic, and it is the movie in a nutshell. It's about not living with regrets and not waiting for the world to end before you ask, you know, before you call your brother, you know, and it's like, there's a longer version of this scene in the extended scenes, and you get to see Cliff's response of like, he is not going to wait 25 years if they make it through that, you know, and they both feel the pain and regret of not having the courage to just pick up the phone, and it's really emotional, and I love it.
Immobile.
Again, with this scene, it's the same. It's now the final sort of reconnection with Hattie, and it's a confessional for Shaw, where we subtly lay out there that there are things he's done in the past that he needs to make amends for. And I think for the super fans in the Fast world, we know what we're alluding to, and we all want him to make amends for those things, and that's coming. But for Vanessa and her character, she has to, it's a confessional of like, I should have believed you. And I don't know, it's a beautiful scene and beautifully performed.
Things I'm not proud of. Things I have to make amends for. Or things that want that bastard put me through. But right now, most important thing to me is get my little sister home safely.
She's good at tearing up on a cue. Here we see the Etion army breaking in. So you see in that wide shot, the sky is on like a deeper shade of blue. In post, we actually rotoed the sky and started to give it a blue hue on the sort of the reverses of Brixton and the army coming in. If you remember what Shaw was saying, it's like they always attack right before dawn. We're trying to make this feel like dawn is breaking. It's still night, but dawn is imminent. And you can see a little bit of the light in the sky.
We're sorry!
I mean, I love this material. I remember telling Jonathan Sella, it's like I want it to be like a rock concert. Like, let's turn all the car lights on and backlit DJ as he walks out. Like, he had been training for this scene and dieting and like getting into the perfect shape for this moment, and had been working on the speech, and I really just wanted to make it like a special, visually stunning, emotional moment. And again, there's a longer version of this where they do the whole Civetao, and these guys are on fire, and it's pretty intense. Yeah, this is such a great scene in the movie. Great effects team we had there. Schwami effects. We were blowing up cars. We were shooting petrol out of the back of a car. We're lighting a trench on fire. Like anything we wanted to do, practical, we were able to do. Like, that's practical. There's some visual effects enhancement in the fire, but we actually lit that whole trench on fire.
Bring me the chopper.
Here you can see the blue in the sky coming up. More blue. The kill box has been formed. And now we see the sunrise, which allows a transition into dawn. I think Dwayne was really excited to do this fight. He said he's been waiting to do a fight like this his entire career. I would love to do another Braveheart style fight with Dwayne. And there's a lot more of this fight in the extended scenes, so you can have fun enjoying watching the brothers beat the crap out of the Etion bad guys. Pulling out some of his old wrestling moves. Again, like, fight days for me are my favorite days. It's kind of like second nature to me, so it's really good. I dig in and focus, and you let the juices flow, and you can be really creative. And, you know, I adjust choreography with my guys. Like, here I have probably 20 stuntmen who are fight experts that all they do are fight scenes, and some of them are my contemporaries that I've worked with for years, and other of them are guys that we brought up under 8711, but they're all friends or colleagues, and it's so easy to work with them, and it's so fun. We're just having like the best time. You notice this is sort of a parallel of them diving from the safe explosion in the first act. Here we see them diving from this explosion, and they're separated. I wanted to create this sort of surreal moment for her as she's sort of just, the explosion has sort of rung her bell and she's trying to figure out what to do. You get a great moment with Roman and Dwayne. For WWE fans, all real helicopter work. The Black Hawk pilots were insane, and Fred North is doing, you know, helicopter air-to-air shots throughout this whole sequence that are just unbelievable. I think that spit was improv. I have to think that Idris did not know it was coming, and it was pretty, I mean, you gotta be pretty courageous to spit in Idris's face. So. Here we dig into the chase, and we get to see some of these great vehicles. Man, we had so much fun shooting in Hawaii. And this is all, again, like at that sugar mill, all in that location. So you can see how much production value we got out of that place. It was a farm that had a massive footprint, and we got to use all of that land to do this car chase. This whole car chase takes place on the property of that sugar mill. So again, this is a lot like the storyboards, that moment of them wrapping the helicopter, and this was going to be it. This was going to be it, sort of wrap the helicopter and then go straight over the cliff. It wasn't until the last minute when we realized we sort of wanted to take this car piece to the next level, and that we needed to do something in the spirit of these big, fast movies where how do we defy physics and like get this sort of visually crazy, you know, idea, iconic idea. What is it? And Chris Morgan, in his classic Chris Morgan fashion, came up with the idea of connecting the cars and one by one. And we were pre-visiting it at the last minute, even while we were in Hawaii, and storyboarding it and trying to figure it out. And meanwhile, we're shooting all the lead-ups with the stunt team. So all this stuff leading up to it, I had shot listed for them. We had the ultimate arm. And so they basically had one camera, and they would go off every day in 2 or 3 hours when the light was right, and they'd shoot a lot of these transition shots. They had the helicopter and the Ultimate Arm. Chris O'Hara, who's great stunt coordinator, got to direct a lot of second unit here. And he, you know, these car-to-car shots were great. Him and the Ultimate Arm drivers and Fred North gave us a lot of that material.
The axle, the axle!
Again, a piece this size with this crazy ideas, there's a lot of stuff going on. Practical shot, fully in camera, practical shot, fully in camera, insert shot material, fully in camera, CG truck in the background, fully in camera, digital shot. Like you're watching this thing come together with all these different pieces, you know? Real shot, CG shot with plate, blue screen shot, real shot, real shot. We're doing a lot of camera mounts, fixed mounts to give the energy, real shot, but CG enhancement on the cliff. Like I could go on and on, but you see like the puzzle pieces to put a sequence like this together are, it's kind of mind-blowing. And all departments are working on all cylinders to make it happen. So after our first test screening, we hadn't had the storm sort of laid into the background yet. And we wanted to make sure that there was a bump, that some people were bumping on the weather transition later on in the sequence where they go over the cliff. And so we wanted to make sure that in these big shots, we were getting weather in the background. So we started to add the clouds digitally and the lightning. And so you kind of see it coming, you know, they're heading into the storm. So you can see the brothers working together.
My turn.
Right, practical. We're coming up to no man's land, which we call it.
Goodbye.
In no man's land, you know, the idea is that the brothers have planted all these barrels in the ground and they're filled with, you know, the ethanol, and they're, you know, you run over them and they explode. So special effects had actually black powder in these barrels, and we were shooting these barrels up in the air, not with the real helicopter. We would do plates, but we had the real helicopter doing it with just like air mortars of smoke.
Let's get this up!
So that's real. Like that is real. All interaction with the smoke is real. That's a real helicopter. That's a real cars flipping. Like I have the rockstar stunt team of the last 40 years there, and we are blowing shit up, flipping cars, and doing this stuff for real. And it was pretty awesome, I have to say.
We're losing the road!
And last but not least, we have to get to the super strength moment that has become sort of a landmark for the fast movies, and we just wanted to make it fun, but not linger on it too long. You know, Hobbs gets his moment to just stop the crippled helicopter from getting away before they can hook it back on the winch. I really love how this scene turned out, and it's really sort of, again, a testament to all the people involved. Jonathan Sella shooting it, David Schooneman finding the location and production designing it, Dan Glass getting the 800 visual effect shots that are augmenting every single frame, Chris Rouse, the editor, for finding the pace of this all, the artists that were able to create, you know, some of these digital effects, and then we're into our finale fight. So, working with my creative producer, Kelly McCormick, again, who is also my wife, I was pitching her this idea that, you know, I like to end my movies in the rain. I like to, you know, make the stakes personal for the characters. I like to have the cinematic nature of it in a classic sort of Western style. And so, but how was I going to make it different? And she's always challenging me to, you know, fights can get so repetitive, and she's like always challenging me to make it different. You know, we'd done some super slow-mo in Deadpool 2 where we were traveling through time. You've seen stuff in the Matrix movies. where we've done slow-mo as choreographers, but I hadn't seen it in a while, and so I spoke to Dan Glass, visual effects, and like I wanted to play with the water and the speed of the water and see the water like shoot off of these guys. And you're going to see later that that moment becomes the moment of when they really work together, and that stylized moment, I think, works within the fast world because it is sort of punctuating the one time in the moment where Hobbs and Shaw come together.
I was beginning to like you two, you know that? Oh well.
They're answering the ultimate question of the movie. Can these two polar opposite personalities get along and save the world? If these two people who are so diametrically opposed can get along and save the world, don't you think there's kind of hope for all of us? And again, I don't want to get too philosophical in sort of this fast world, but I find as a filmmaker, you kind of need to hang your hat on bigger themes in your storytelling. And it's easy for me as an action director to just get caught up in the fun spectacle of, like, you know, his heads up display, or like the kung fu sort of like nature of the scene, or the stylized shots that we're about to see. But without a grounded story, without bigger themes, without character arcs, none of it means anything. Here's what I'm talking about. And it's sort of punctuating this moment of like, we need to work together. We need to put aside our differences, cut the bullshit, no more joking around. I got your back, and I got yours. Take a punch to land a punch. Let's do this, brother.
Let's go and plug this sumbitch.
And it turned out really emotional. So there's a lot of methodology going on here. We're shooting in slow-mo, they're acting in slow-mo, the water is CG, the other rain is real, the faces are being manipulated and twisted in CG. So it's, again, like a lot of departments working, you know, together to make things happen. You get to see, like, Hattie is so self-sufficient and she's such a badass and she takes care of herself. We really wanted to make sure that we didn't ever make her the damsel in distress. I mean, she can be compromised and she can get help from the boys and they can get help from her, and she's just one of the team. And it was never like she was incapable. It's just that they were all sort of overwhelmed with the technology of Etion and the strength of Brixton. Idris, by the way, was such a good sport. I think it's hard, like, you want to come in, you're playing the villain, you know at some point the reckoning's coming and you're gonna have to take the ass whooping so the heroes can win. And he does it graciously, enthusiastically. He shows up like, we're working hard, we're doing the fight scenes, and he's additive, he's got great ideas, and you know, he's allowing the heroes to win. And it's sometimes, you know, you work in these movies, and especially people that do action movies all the time, there's a lot of egos and people think they're the actual characters, and there's all this like BS going on. It was never that way with these guys. It was all about the story. And we need the heroes to win, we need the bad guy to lose. But we also needed this moment of that Idris really fought for, was sort of the complexity of like his character. And like, he's a true believer in this cause that technology, you know, could save the world, but at what cost, you know? And their cost is dark and flawed. And that their brotherhood, I guess, with Shaw and him, that Shaw could actually show mercy, and a real hero has the ability to do that. And that only humans have the ability to show this type of compassion and mercy, and computers can be cold and calculated, and but humans can be even more elevated and evolved. And that's sort of the big theme at the end here that we're dealing, you know, we're trying to tackle in a fun, big popcorn kind of way. But Shaw shows mercy, and we see that humanity rises to protect itself, and storm the household and make sure that if Etienne was going to stay, they were going to have to deal with 1,000 Samoans.
You may have all the technology in the world. We have heart.
This is something that Dwayne really fought for in terms of the ending. And like, it's funny, what's crazy is that 3 weeks before shooting, I swapped the set pieces. We were gonna go to Samoa first and meet the Hobbs family and then end in what we used to call Chernobyl. And after scouting, because the movie was so compressed time-wise, I had been to Samoa and it was so spiritual and emotional, and like I had this vision for the end of the movie and sort of that spirit of like the people rising up to take on the machines, and it lended itself to it. So I called the studio and I called Dwayne and I said, hey, I really want to swap these 2 set pieces, and I know it's crazy because we started shooting in 3 weeks, but thankfully everybody got it, and I think that the movie is better for it. I can't imagine ending the movie in the Ukraine, driving out of the smoke. I mean, we're ending the movie in this beautiful place. We've had this big commentary about man versus machine and like humans can do the right thing. Brixton's always posed them with the question of like, can we do the right thing? Can people do the right thing? And Hobbs and Shaw answer that.
It's gonna be a hell of a reunion. You're on our radar now.
So this computer voice was always going to be left up to a mystery. There were times where we had a cameo circling it, and we were going to reveal that cameo at a certain point. But then at some point, we just felt like we sort of populated the world enough, and like it was kind of interesting that it's just sort of this computer that's running things. And is it AI? You know, where do we want to take it? We have a lot of ideas, and I'm going to leave those out now. But, you know, I think it could be interesting that, you know, our heroes go up against this machine over and over and over, and it is sort of like in classic Bond style. We have an arch villain and an organization that they can rail against for future episodes. Kelly McCormick. Here we get to see the families reconnecting, and it's fun. Again, like this motif allowed me to condense the storytelling. This was originally going to be, we told these things individually, and we went to the island and we went to the prison, and but having the split screen motif in the beginning and sort of setting up this visual sort of intercutting style allowed us to accelerate the storytelling. And it was always my idea to reprise the song, and I think it sort of pulls the thread together emotionally. Like, again, that virus represented the time in the bottle, but we thought it was really about the world-ending virus, but really what it was about was bringing Deckard and Hattie together, and Hobbs and Jonah.
How long have you been working here?
Sam, this is your grandma.
I think it works really well. Pretty proud. And again, it's so beautiful in Samoa. I mean, in Hawaii, sorry. Now you're going to see something coming up at the end here, which is the coda. And after our first test, we had to explain the virus. You know, we had a couple different versions of how we got rid of the virus. We burned it at one point because, you know, that's said you could do. Audiences really didn't like that idea. There was a lot of questions about, did it vaporize? Did it what? And then I think we had a version where we never explained it. We just took it away. People were like, what happened to the virus? So I again called Ryan, and he graciously said, I'll come help you. And I go, I need you to give me some more exposition, but we got to do it in a fun, humorous way. So him and Chris Morgan and myself went back and forth on pages, mostly Ryan, to be honest. And we came up with this gag where he explains the virus. He's got it. The CIA has put it in a lockdown facility. But we also had this fun idea that he's also in trouble, and that it's sort of the promise of Hobbs and Shaw coming to get him in the future, or helping him in the future, or teaming up with him in the future. So this is something we shot 3 weeks before the film's release at Universal.
It's crazy. Listen, before you say another word, tell me you took care of the snowflake.
I got
That's actually a couple set walls.
Dude, we're not family.
I know. What we have is so much deeper. Listen, hey, real talk?
And that hallway was a hallway in one of the painting rooms. And this exterior shot is actually in the Back to the Future backlot. And I just sort of shot it on long lenses, so everything kind of goes away. And so it's funny. Movie magic.
Jesus, hang on a second.
Here we have Simon Crane, who did an incredible catch-all job for us while we were in London. We have a great production crew, a great editorial crew. I can't... Mark Fitzgerald's amazing. Our accounting, amazing. Nicole. Just so many great people working on this. Here's our cast. You can see a lot of stunt performers. Yeah, I said at the premiere that, you know, my brother, Chad Stahelski, who just directed John Wick 3, we've been pounding the pavement in this business for 20 years, and now, you know, through all our hard work, we're directing big Hollywood movies. It would just be great if the Academy would, at some point, acknowledge the stunt performers and what they mean to movies like this. It's been 20 years. I have a lot of contemporaries in this business who have multiple Academy Awards, and I'm not saying I would ever have earned one, but it'd be nice to just have the celebration on that night when all the rest of the film industry gets to celebrate on that night. Here you have the second coda, which in a different incarnation actually played where that other scene did. And this is, again, everything in the movie, comedy-wise, is a planned payoff in sort of traditional comedy fashion, and we had come up with this idea that we needed a payoff for the Mike Hawksmall moment. And so here you get the Hugh Janus moment. And there was one point where I actually pitched Ryan if he wanted to be the guy outside on the megaphone saying, like he had the CIA show up and arrest Shaw. But it's fun. I mean, it's, again, so beautiful and graphic, and we actually shot this in a very famous bar in the east side of London. And those details, you can't deny the authenticity of it all.
Looking forward to it, Shaw.
I'm just getting started.
There's Alex King. You know, we had two picture car coordinators in this movie, Dennis McCarthy and Alex King. Alex King did the UK piece, so you look at that rock crawler with the trophy truck suspension. That's he built that based on the designs from David Schoeneman. So, honestly, great crews all over the world that we worked with. There's a lot of great music we wanted to cram into the back of the movie. One of them is the Songland, the stuff from Songland. And so this is, we had the Aloe Black song that we picked from the Songland episode. It's amazing when you really, you know, dig down into it, like how many people work on a movie. And, you know, I'm constantly telling my family and friends, they're like, you're still working on that movie? Isn't it done yet? And it's like, I get it. Like, if you're not in the business, you kind of like, you know, you think it's easy, but this scroll goes on for 9 minutes, and every one of these people works, you know, 5 to 7 day weeks, you know, 12 to 15 hour days. Like it's no joke. And it's pretty crazy the logistics it takes to make this type of big entertainment, and pretty grateful. There's my assistant, Dan Crowley. He actually had the nickname Danny the Nanny because he took care of our dogs. We have 3 dogs. We have 2 rescue pit bulls and 1 rescue Lochin. And so Kelly and I had this nickname for him called Danny the Nanny. We were looking for a code name for the movie, as you often do in these big movies. You have a code name as to try to keep sort of onlookers away, and like you're sending out emails, you don't want it to say Hobbs and Shaw on it all the time because it's very just, people will then be attracted to it. So we named the production Danny the Nanny, and sounds like a television show if you ask me. Celebrity dog nanny. Crazy. There's our second unit. 2 second unit directors there. Chris O'Hara, we go way back 20 years. Chris O'Hara and I, as I said earlier, I was mentioning Chris Palermo, who's another great stunt friend of mine. But Chris O'Hara was actually who I was referring to when I said we actually lived together when we first got into the business. And he had worked a bunch of jobs. He was able to cobble together to buy a house, and I rented from him. But even before that, like, there were a lot of our stunt friends that, you know, I slept on couches. There were 4 of us that rented a house that was like a 2-bedroom, and like, we were all just like scratching and surviving, you know, trying to get into the stunt world. We actually rented a place where, and chat, this is great. So it was actually, Chad ended up buying the house, and this is a long, I think out of nostalgia factor, but the long and short is like, we rented this place for 4 years, and we, without telling the owner of the house, we dug a hole so we could make a trampoline in the back, because we're all training in trampoline for stunts. And so we had an in-ground trampoline in the back without telling our landlord. And all the stunt guys would come over the years, and we'd have trampoline parties, and we'd have trampoline training sessions, and it was like crazy sort of trampoline training house. And it was after one big movie that, you know, that house went on the market, and we decided to, you know, Chad's like, I got to buy it. And I'm like, why do you want to buy this house? Like, it's not even that great. And he's like, I don't want to move the trampoline. Seriously. So that was his first house. Probably more than you need to know about Chad Stahelski. Yeah. Small little house in North Redondo. And so then we could continue to train there. Good times in the story of the stuntman. Here, the massive amount of visual effects artists on this, and I'm incredibly grateful for the short amount of time that they had. I think that the houses, Michael at Double Negative in Vancouver, really delivered on so many sequences that it, you know, it means a lot to me to work with great people and great leaders. The Method guys did incredible for the stuff that we needed to do for titles, and then we had Frame Store do the great work in Samoa at the end. And so some great houses, great work. We had a good friend, Sean Cushing, come on at the last minute, who did some graphics for us and did the director's sort of waveforms, and that was amazing. Yeah, just really, really good people. And when you have this many visual effects shots, you can't imagine even understanding the movie without it. It's incomprehensible at times, you know, visually. So Alex Cannon is our previs supervisor, and Alex, he's an incredibly creative individual, and he, a lot like my storyboard artists, Will Groby and Soren and Todd Harris, Alex, you know, was pitching a lot to me ideas, and Alex pitched this idea of like the way the bike would go under the truck. I'd always thought that maybe he just lays it down, he like low sides it, and the leathers are smoking, and then we're riffing back and forth with these great creative people, and it's like, what if it like transforms? And then he in previs works out an idea, and then you send that to the visual effects house, which sort of works with animators to perfect that idea. But I have to say, Alex did an incredible job pitching action ideas to me, as did my storyboard team and my stunt team, and like, it's really great to collaborate with such a great group of artists. So, all that to say, we come back around to this last little bit of the coda, and I think this one's just for me. I just thought it was incredibly funny, and we were shooting this on the day, and Ryan went on a riff about the blood, and he just was making this up. He'd written the Be Positive joke, but he was kind of in the spirit of the never-ending death in Deadpool 2. He went on this riff about I'm bleeding, I'm bleeding, I'm bleeding, and then now sort of cut it into this sort of spot where we revealed that he stabbed a guy with a brick, which we'd set up, obviously, 2 hours and 16 minutes ago in the Pancake House. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you guys, and I look forward to doing this again soon.